Chris Eubank Senior is a deep guy, and that doesn't even skim the surface. To say that Chris Eubank Senior is deep is like saying Star Wars has a little bit of special effects. Man, I'm watching interview after interview of Chris Eubank Senior, and this dude is really, really, really impressive. I don't agree with everything he says, but in a lot of areas, his heart's in the right place. And he says, just as sure as if he went outside and put both legs on the ground and tried to move the earth, he says, just as sure as he is that could never happen, that he could move the earth, that's how sure he is that this Eubank Jr. Conor Benn fight will not happen. Why does he say it won't happen? Because he says it's against the rules. He says it's dangerous. He said for Conor Benn to be going up to 160 is dangerous. He says it's against the rules. He said, now, if his son was going down to 147, that's fine. But for him to go up, he said that's against the rules. And I looked it up. It's not really against the rules from what I see. But I think he's just saying it's dangerous because he fought a guy named, I think his name was Michael Watson, Chris Eubank Sr., and the guy had a brain injury in the ring. And he survived it, but it left him paralyzed, and he's with him sometimes, and it really messed him up. And what's crazy is I believe the fight with Conor Benn and Chris Eubank Jr. is in the same place that happened with his dad. And he was pretty disgusted at the name of this fight, Chris Eubank Sr. It's called Fatal Fury. He said that's evil. It's evil for them to call this fight fatal. I was saying before on one of my videos, why are they calling something in boxing fatal? That's in today's world of political correctness, that really doesn't fly. Fatal Fury, but he doesn't like all the cussing. He says these guys go around cussing, and they're supposed. He's telling Conor Benn, you're supposed to be a Christian. You're walking around cussing like a. What do you say? Like a. What's the word he used? Drunken. He said you're walking around cussing like a. I don't know, something like a. I forget. But he's not with the cussing. I'm not either. You've never heard me cuss on this platform. Now, if I bring somebody on and they cuss or I'm playing a sound bite, that's on them. But I don't cuss, never did. In any of my videos, I don't cuss in real life. When I used to rap, I didn't cuss in my raps. That's what a lot of people don't understand now. If you rap aggressive, you don't have to cuss. But anyway, yeah, I'm just thinking about Chris Eubank Sr. I got off topic as I do a lot. But Chris Eubank Sr. was saying this fight will not happen, and he doesn't condone it, and he will never be in his son's corner because he doesn't agree with this. He thinks it's dangerous. In fact, he became a marshal. He wears a badge, and that's I believe, to represent him defending boxers. He's saying boxing is supposed to be a noble sport, and if you're going around cussing and throwing chairs, it's no longer noble. And he's saying if you cuss, you're no longer a king. You're showing people you're not a king. I heard his interview he did with Carl Froch, and he was telling Carl Froch, be an example. If people see you not cuss, they'll want to do what you do. But if people hear you cussing, they'll be like, oh, it's okay to do. So he's really about morals. He doesn't want to see anyone get hurt in this sport. He just doesn't condone anything that's going to make boxing look bad. He doesn't want to support any type of tragedy. And he's not cool with the name of the fight, Fatal Fury. And it seems kind of disrespectful and strange for them to name this fight Fatal Fury, knowing what happened between Chris Eubank Senior and Mr. Watson, with the brain injury. I didn't even see that fight, but I heard Chris Eubank Senior was knocked down. He got up, hit the guy with the uppercut. The guy fell into the ropes and then collapsed later in the ring with the brain injury. Boxing is a dangerous sport, and that's why people always say you play other sports, but you don't play boxing. But go check out some of the interviews with Chris Eubank Sr. He says this fight will not happen. He's almost sure of it, and if it's not going to happen, it would be a shock because it's coming up next weekend. So we'll see what happens. I think there's so much money involved that it will happen. But he doesn't condone his son hitting Connor Benn with the egg. He thinks that's classless, and he's a man of high morals. And anything that doesn't represent morals, he's not down for it. And you got to respect that about him. Um, he says he's a Christian. He said a couple things that go off to the side of what I believe, but for the most part, he was on point with most of the things he said. And I'm just trying to remember everything he was talking about, how this fight shouldn't take place. But I found it interesting for a guy to be saying what I'm saying, that these fighters, especially the ones that call themselves Christians, should not go around cussing. And I've said names of those that claim to be Christians. If you're being an ambassador for the kingdom or the reign of the Most High, you're representing Christianity, or I call it followers of the way, what they were really called. If you're that, you have to be that all the time. You can't be that one minute and then the next minute you're going to confuse people. And we know what the scriptures say, who's the author of confusion. So you got to be consistent. You might not want to be a role model, but you are anyway. So be that 100%. People are looking to you like you're something to aspire to be. So remember that. You got to care about that. You got to care about all the children out there watching you fight, watching your interviews, studying your mannerisms, studying your speech pattern. But I would really be shocked, though, if this fight doesn't take place. I would really be shocked. But Chris Eubank Senior does not want this fight to take place. He said it won't take place, and he's not for it at all. At all. He said if something tragic happens, he's an accomplice. So he doesn't want to support his son in any fashion. And, when you've been hit with some things that he's been hit with, some trauma, he don't want no more trauma in his life. He just doesn't. So we'll see if this fight takes place. He almost makes me not want to watch it now after hearing what he said. He's like, he just thinks it's an unfair advantage for his son to be 160 and this guy going up to 160 and going back down. He said that's against the rules. We know Usyk moved up to fight at heavyweight, but I guess he's saying yo-yo weights bouncing around is not permissible, but I don't know. I know Roy Jones did it, and it didn't work out too good for him. Even Chris Eubank Senior said he did it, and it didn't work out for him. He said, you just feel different. He said, you're not the same when you go up and wait and then come back down. So, he was a great champion, so he knows what he's talking about with the weights bouncing, I guess, I'm still trying to remember what he said about walking around like a drunken something when you're cussing. I was like, man, that was pretty deep. He did it with seconds out, and he was getting himself so worked up. He walked off and then came back to finish the interview. So I wish more fighters would be classy. If you want to talk trash, do what you got to do, but there should be a limit to the things you should say. There should be a limit to the things you even want to say. Some of the things I hear fighters say is like, why would you even take it there, man? It's a fight. That's what trips me out after the fight. Everyone's like, hey, what's up, man? We cool, and they hug it out. It's like, so if you didn't mean it, then you don't have to sell the fight by talking perverse, man. Welcome to 2025. Anyway, it's the J. Roos Theory. The Cash App is $J Roos33. The backup platform and WJ. The Instagram is the J. Roos Theory. If you want to become a member, do so. Bronze, silver, and gold. Oh yeah, Ben Whitaker wins in controversy in the second round in his rematch. Hit the guy, and the referee was quick to stop it. You know, these British refs stop fights quick. Ben Whitaker wins second round. Frazier Clark wins in the first round against Tete. I think that was the guy Dillian White just beat. I think it was Dillian White. Anyway, Frazier Clark hits him with a hard right. The dude falls, gets up, and then Frazier Clark finishes him in the first round. And looks like Frazier Clark is very happy to get that win, puts him back on the scene. Didn't beat a world beater, but that's what you got to do. You got to get back on the horse and fight who's ever presented to you to get your confidence back and to stay active. And that's what Frazier Clark did. But thanks, excuse me, thanks for watching. LSR forever. Be fearless. Yay.